The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
All right, I want to welcome to the show Representative Vicki Lopez, representing Florida's District 113. Thank you for joining us on Condo Craze and HOAs, Representative Lopez. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that we're talking about a subject that we spend so much time working on. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, don't I know it? You had so many laws passed. It's incredible. You got to be tired by now. I'm sure.
I'm tired.
All right, now
you can't complain when you volunteer for this.
Right, exactly. But what can I say? You know, the laws you helped become law in the state this year are welcomed by so many as really overdue for both condominiums and HOAs. And it's obvious that, you know, you truly took on this difficult task. And the question is why? You know, is this an area that you decided to tackle head on? You know, what made you the person that is going to tackle this issue?
Well, I mean, to be very honest, I did not go to the House of Representatives to work on condo bill, but you know, when the leadership asks you to run a bill because they think that you can, you do. And quite frankly, I have 667 condo associations in my district,
wow,
so I am well suited to do so.
Right.
And you know, if you know me, you know that I jump in, you know, and really try to learn every facet of anything that I am, you know, charged with the responsibility of, you know, advancing. And so it has been an incredible journey these last 2 years as I've learned just about everything I need to learn or want to learn about condos.
Right.
So I think I'm a natural for it. And
yeah.
Especially I live in a condo and I'm surrounded by condos right. in my district.
Yeah, it kind of found you, right? I mean, you were the natural person for it. I want to start right off the bat talking with you about a topic that has been really near and dear to my heart for so long, and that's mandatory education for condo and HOA directors. Let me tell you, I've certified about 25,000 directors throughout the state now. I always thought that education should be mandatory, of course, especially after the tragedy in Surfside. I came close. So many years I had bills sitting on the governor's desk just waiting to be signed, and they were vetoed at the last minute, or it just fell apart at the last minute. But you were the person who was able to carry the ball over the goal line. And why is it, just like me, I got to tell you, why is education in your mind so important for condo and HOA directors?
I have spent 2 years talking to condo boards and recognizing that it's impossible to do your job and do it well and do it within the confines of your fiduciary responsibility without understanding what that job really entails. And, you know, prior to the bill being passed, you could either sign a piece of paper that said you knew what you were talking about, right. or you could take the course. Right. And most people did not take the course. They said,
exactly
I think I've read the bylaws. I think I know what I'm doing. Yeah. When in fact they did not. And I think now more than ever, it is so critical because of all of the changes, the revisions to the Condominium Act. I mean, for the last 3 years, we have been amending that Condominium Act. And this past year, we really amended the governance side of it. So it's imperative that people have training, and not only the 4-hour training course, but the continuing education, right. because you can serve on a board for 7 years. So you should have to, I mean, I'm already working on Condo 4.0.
That's
so
incredible.
As I revise Condominium Act, you have to be able to be kept up to speed. And so it's imperative in my book.
Of course, I think it saves lives, quite frankly. It will save lives. I got to tell you, I've seen situations where it's the night of the election, these 5 new people get elected to the board, and I see the manager hand out that ridiculous form and said, just sign here, now you're certified. Isn't that a terrible way to actually get certified? I mean, that should never have been allowed in the first place, quite frankly.
Well, and I have to put that onus on the property managers. I mean,
of course.
You know, they shouldn't be saying that. On the contrary,
right.
They should be telling them this is a huge responsibility and you need to take this course. And here are the courses that you can take when you can take them online at your convenience.
Of course, I agree totally. But what do you say to those people who say, wait a minute, if you're going to make directors go to school a little bit, it's going to prevent people from running. You're going to push people away.
I think that's silly. I think if you're going to the trouble of running for your condo board, it's because you have a genuine interest in serving. And if you do, and you are a person that really wants to, sort of contribute to the betterment of your community, then you won't mind taking a 4-hour course. As a matter of fact, I would think that you would welcome it.
Right.
Because if you're signing up to do a job, you want to do it right. And you surely don't want to be caught off guard and not know, be held accountable to those things that you didn't know. I mean, I would think everyone would welcome it.
So when I teach a class, I have everybody fill out forms saying, what did you think of the class? What was the worst thing about the class? And you know what I typically get back after 4 hours? It was too short. Okay?
I'm afraid.
It was too short.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm afraid that it is too short.
Yeah.
There's so many things to cover now.
Exactly.
We really have to make sure that we hit the high points where the fiduciary responsibility and the financial responsibility are covered, because there's plenty of that going on now that was never there before.
There are very large management companies and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Oh no! An unexpected leak! Jay, you know that's no way to solve a roof problem. Call Best Roofing. We solve roof problems.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
Rimkus Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
Okay, so let's talk about financial responsibility a little bit. I tried on previous occasions to have the Florida legislature put through some form of mandatory reserves. I tried, and there was always a huge lobby against it. And, why did you think that mandatory reserves was so important this year? And I'm glad you did.
Well, I think clearly, I think it was Surfside. I mean, the tragedy of Champlain Towers really showed the legislature that one of the many reasons that building collapsed and killed 98 innocent people in the middle of the night was because they've not had reserves.
Of course.
Not only, the unfortunate thing is that for Miami-Dade and Broward County, who've been recertifying buildings since 1997, we know that they've been doing the right thing on that end, but, that always ends up with an assessment, what's known as a special assessment, because after 40 years, there are going to be certain things that need to be done in order to keep the building structurally sound. The unfortunate part was that those two counties chose the 40-year mark, and we now know that Champlain Towers collapsed somewhere between the vicinity of 38 to 39 years.
Right.
So that's why the legislature chose 30 years, right? And also, last year we gave local governments the authority to go down to 25 years if they felt the need to do so. But the part that was missing at Champlain Towers was the reserves.
Sure.
Had they had reserves, had they had the deferred repairs and maintenance done that they needed to have done, we may have found that building wouldn't have fallen.
Yes.
And I don't know, because we still don't have the final report, but I do believe that it became almost, a mandatory that now buildings, in order for buildings to be structurally sound, which obviously was the legislative intent, that it goes hand in hand. You've got to have mandatory reserves.
Of course,
And forcing people to actually do what they don't want to do, because for many who have been living on fixed incomes, they have actually thought that their assessment, what their monthly maintenance was enough to keep the building structurally sound for the remaining part of the building, and it wasn't in fact enough. That's why I'm really grateful.
Sure, I know that assessments are going to go up because of this. I get it, but I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I only have some compassion, because I never thought it was realistic for a person to live in a condominium for 30, 35 years and waive reserves each year and think that the building's never going to need any major repairs. I mean, what can you say?
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, they were living in a bubble.
Yeah,
and it's very much an illusion, because I think what we're finding now, Eric, is that we may be on the verge of a condo crisis.
Yes.
In order to live in these buildings, it may not be feasible for many people who are on fixed incomes, because in order to keep the building safe and structurally sound, you have to spend money. Money that they weren't willing to spend in the years past.
Right. I mean, they were simply not given the correct amount of money that they needed to pay each month in order to keep the building going. And getting back to what you said 2 minutes ago, I always say when I'm teaching the course that we can argue all day about why Champlain Towers collapsed. Was it because the building next door was built too close? Was it the pool deck that had gone bad? But I agree with you completely. The building fell because of lack of money. That's why the building fell. Had there been a reserve account, I think 98 people would be alive today. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, let me move on to a different topic. And there are now, for both condos and HOAs, clear laws that make it a crime to tamper with official records or tamper with ballots or tamper with the election process. Was your office hearing from your constituents that these awful things were really happening?
Actually, yes. And I just met with a group from Brickell that has given me this long story about the terrible things that have happened in their April election. It is constant, and I don't understand how we've gotten here. I think a lot of the problems are, and I hope that whoever's listening knows, if you're a condo board member and you're trying to do the right thing, this is not meant for you. This is meant for the very people that are willfully and intentionally trying to stay on the board so that they can continue in their power long after the 7-year term that is in statute. I mean, there are some real issues with people. I'm not talking about the ones that make a mistake and then can correct it. I'm talking about the ones that actually set out to commit election fraud.
Exactly. And I can tell you
example.
Yeah, sorry.
I can give you example after example of things that I've heard that I just can't get over it. And I think part of it that I'm going to have to fix going forward is that if the majority of the owners want to have an electronic voting process, that they must move to it, because what they've been doing is in South Florida, most of our condominiums are owned by investors who do not live in the building.
Right.
So they are not even in the country.
Yes.
And so if a paper ballot is sent to Argentina or to Brazil or to Colombia, it normally doesn't get there before the election, if it gets there at all.
Right.
So everyone, I think the majority of the owners should determine how the voting process should work. Should it be electronically? Should it be paper?
Right.
And once that's determined by the vote by the condo owners, then the condo board must adhere to that.
Right.
And that is not in statute today.
So that answers my question about what do you say to those people who think, wait a minute, there's too many of these criminal laws being passed. You're scaring me from running for the board. We're not going to go to jail if I don't give somebody access to a record?
Look, I think that if I were running to be on a board, and I'd be happy to do so, I would always want to do the right thing. I'm not scared of criminal penalties because I don't intend to commit any fraud.
Right.
So I think the vast majority of people are good. It's a thankless job.
Of course.
Let's face it, Eric, it's thankless and it's long hours. I mean, if you want to do the right thing, then I'm going to applaud it. But if you're going to engage in fraud, I'm going to come for you.
Yes.
And that's what these laws are meant for.
Absolutely. I can tell you just cases I've been in over the years where they know who the people are that are living in Argentina, Venezuela, or outside the country. And let's just say magically, these people wind up voting anyway. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, magically.
Right? Magically, yeah. Somehow ballots were filled out for them, even though they haven't voted in the last 10 years. You know,
No,
it
and I
happens.
just tell you that you remember that in order to hold an election, you must have 20% of the qualified owners actually participating. Well, here's the problem. Since they don't live here, and since the notices probably get sent, paper-wise, we're not having condo boards actually hold elections because they cannot get
Even get to 20%, right? Right, I gotcha. I see it. I want to switch for a second to HOA laws, and you kind of get the feeling this year that overall, here's what the HOA laws were about. If you can't see a violation while standing in front of my home, leave me alone. If I want to park a car in my lot, leave me alone. It was all these laws that basically said, leave me alone. And you get the feeling that at least you thought maybe the association was just too involved in people's lives, and yes, it was time to leave them alone. What's your thoughts?
It's interesting because it's, HOAs are governed under, Chapter 720. So it's very different than the vertical living
Right.
chapter of the Condominium Act in 718. And I do believe that single family homeowners were outraged that someone would tell them what they can and cannot do on their own property.
Right.
Right. It's very different than when you live in a condominium, right? Because you're living side by side with many people. So you don't have the luxury of saying, but I want to do this, because next door you got someone who lives right next to you
Right.
and you share a wall. I think for residential homeowners, they were like, wait a minute, this is still America. I want to be free to live my life.
Right, sure.
And HOA boards had started getting inside their homes.
Yes,
Like what
right.
you can't have in your own backyard, for
Yeah.
goodness sakes.
People really
So,
think
yeah,
that they had all the
yes.
freedom that they didn't have.
Correct.
You ever
And
see
I
that
think
State Farm commercial?
Yeah.
It's hysterical, right? That's exactly what it's like in a lot of communities. But
I couldn't believe it, though,
Right.
because you don't believe that anybody can be so prescriptive
Right.
in trying to run how someone lives their life in their own home.
yeah, and
It's crazy.
the management company was also involved in some of that. And what's interesting is this year,
Yep.
the laws didn't just focus on members of the board. There was a lot of new laws that went after the behavior of community association managers. A lot. Tell me why.
A lot.
Yeah, tell me why.
So what we were finding out was that a lot of times the community management, they're known as property managers in condominium living, is they have, first of all, they've had a lot of conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
And we finally got that down. You're going to have to, if you're a property manager, you're going to have to disclose all your conflicts of interest. The day that you're executing your contract, you're going to put it in your contract so that when you recommend to a condo board, I think you should use this landscaping company or this housekeeping company or this security company, that everyone knows you have an interest in it.
Sure.
And this and the same goes for condo board members. We've heard wild stories, like a condo board member who says, we're going to use XYZ company to tile the lobby. And then the board member is saying to the company, and you're going to do my house for free.
Happens.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff you hear and you're like, oh my God, how is this possible?
Yeah.
So for the property managers, though, I think it's really important. Like condo owners are depending on the property manager to manage the property.
Sure.
And oftentimes they are beholden to the board.
Correct.
not to the owners.
Right.
And the boards themselves have forgotten that they represent the owners.
Mm-hmm.
They've become autonomous and honestly like enemies of the state.
Right.
And that is, and then property managers exasperate that. So we have to make sure that property managers remember what their job is. They're being paid by the condo owners. That's who's paying them. The board may be contracting with them, but they have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's right for the building.
Is your condominium or HOA in need of accounting services? Look no further. Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg is one of South Florida's largest accounting and auditing firms, as recognized by the South Florida Business Journal, and is one of the few accounting firms uniquely specialized to provide accounting services to their growing condominium and homeowner association clientele throughout Florida. With primary offices in Aventura and Boca Raton, satellite offices in Naples and Orlando, and a professional staff of 65, Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg is prepared to meet the needs of any condominium or HOA in the state. The professionals at Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg also have experience working with timeshares, cooperatives, hotel condominiums, mixed-use buildings, and ancillary operations like restaurants, spas, and country clubs. Put their 25 years experience in your corner. Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg, 305-937-0116. That's 305-937-0116 or grgcpa.com.
Someday, you will need insurance. And for that day, you'll be glad you wrote down Insurco Insurance and Financial Services. Why? Because Insurco virtually insures everything. They're a full-line insurance agency that'll put together the best possible coverage and premium for almost anything. Need homeowners or condo insurance? Call Insurco. Need auto or motorcycle insurance? Call Insurco. How about golf cart insurance or trailer and RV insurance? Just call Insurco for a free quote. They're open every day. From renters insurance, officers and directors insurance, and personal liability umbrellas to all types of business insurance, boat insurance, cancer policies, life, health, and annuities. All you need is Insurco. Get a free quote. They service Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Speak English and Spanish. Insurco Insurance and Financial Services. It's the only name you need. Office at 14401 West Sunrise Boulevard in Sunrise, inside Edmore Chevrolet.
Call 954-846-1206. 954-846-1206. That's 954-846-1206.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
One part of the course that I teach is when we get to the subject of property managers, I say, if your property manager is mandating that you use a certain accountant, you use a certain landscaping company, you use a certain law firm, it's time to make the management company go. They don't, a lot of times the board of directors don't really understand the relationship. They really think that they work for the management company much of the time. It's they and I find it, if the population is older, it happens more and more. It's a horrible thing.
It does.
Yeah.
It is. And I think sometimes property managers take advantage of those situations, particularly when the people are elderly.
Exactly.
And they actually recognize, the property manager does, that here's an opportunity. I'll run the board.
Agree with you 100%. I know your time is really busy. Last question of the day, and it has to do with the DBPR. Let me tell you what my life has been for the last 30 years. People have come to me and said, there's a DBPR out there. You tell me to go and make a complaint, but every time I make a complaint, they say we don't have jurisdiction for it, and they kick me out. So they feel like just a complete waste of time. The law changed that this year. They all of a sudden have the ability to do investigations with a lot of different areas. Tell me about that.
And let me tell you, I mean, I heard so often the same story you've just retold here, which is, you make a complaint, you get a letter back that says not within my jurisdiction. Right. So, okay, so then one has to question, well, okay, you're the agency that is supposed to be overseeing condominiums in Florida. What do you mean this is not in your jurisdiction? So we found out that when the developer controls the condominium, they have full jurisdiction over that. But the minute the developer turns it over to the condo board, somehow there was a sentence in statute that actually diminished their authority. So I finally said to them, listen, what's it going to take? Because condo owners and condo boards have to be able to go to you with issues, and you have to be able to resolve them.
Of course.
So they came up with a menu of services that were most aligned with the complaints that they were getting. And I said, okay, what will it take for you to do all of this? Now, remember, they collect $4 per door. So they collected almost in excess of $6 million just to run that division. They have now asked for about $7.5 million in recurring dollars. So totally, they're going to have almost $14 million to finally do the job that we tell them they must do. And I better hope that I don't get a complaint from anybody that says, we now hear it's not within their jurisdiction.
Okay, they're finally given the money that they said they need. Fingers crossed, praying for the best, I guess, at this point.
I'll be watching.
Good.
I'll be watching.
Great.
That's a lot of money, and I expect them to do their job with that kind of money.
It's funny. You started the interview by saying you really didn't know anything about condos. You sound like a law school professor on the topic, I got to tell you. And
Listen,
I thank you for it.
I've had some pretty good teachers, Eric, not the least of which is Pete Dunbar, who actually wrote the Condominium Act. And I'm so grateful to those stakeholders who do know what's happening, especially on the ground, but to all my condo owners and to condo boards and to property managers who all had a voice in helping me understand and really, developing this incredible legislation. I'm grateful.
Well, on behalf of this show and all of our listeners, I just want to say really thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to let our listeners know just how important condo and HOA law is to you. And I hope you come back at some time in the future. We really, truly appreciate it, Representative.
I'd love to do so. And as I work on Condo 4.0, I'm sure there's going to be plenty to talk about once we get that ball rolling. So thanks so much for this opportunity.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Representative. Be well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is your home or condo looking old, worn out, and in need of a fresh look? Then you need PD Painting to paint your property and make it look like new again. PD Painting will first properly prepare your home and condo and then use only the highest quality paint products. After many years in the painting industry, PD Painting has achieved a reputation for always delivering a reliable and professional finish. PD Painting is fully licensed and insured and offers a 7 to 10-year warranty. Their technicians are expert craftsmen. Let PD Painting handle all the details and then sit back and watch them restore your property and bring back that brand new look and feel. Need a service call? PD Painting will be there on the spot. Need financing? PD Painting can offer that too. Call PD Painting at 888-416-3204. Again, that's 888-416-3204. Go to the website pdpaintinginc.com. Need painting done in your home and community? Contact the experts at PD Painting.
This message is for anyone who has taken on the important responsibility of becoming an officer or director in a homeowner or condominium association. It is also for the management companies who work closely with these caring people to make sure things are done the right way. Hello, I'm Gil Pomar, South Florida Regional President for Center State Bank, now the second largest bank based in Florida. Our bank, Center State Bank, has an amazing team of professionals who are exclusively dedicated to the homeowner and condo association market. Your job is not easy. There are repairs and new projects that need financing. There are legal and social issues that need to be understood. There are also technology and servicing issues that your residents want to be improved. Why not choose a bank that knows this business backward and forward? Why not have a local banker who will meet with you face-to-face whenever it is convenient for you or your board? Center State Bank has over 2,000 associations as customers for a reason. Please give us a chance to earn your business. Call Terry Russo at 954-633-1666 to make it happen. Center State Bank is an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Need an insurance evaluation, audit, or quotation for your condo association or homeowners association? If so, then you need to speak with our insurance experts at Mack & Waltz. We insure over 800 associations, and we are the clear leader in this marketplace. Mac & Waltz has been in business since 1989. We write insurance on billions of dollars of property values. We are an independent insurance agency representing insurance companies which specialize in condo and HOA insurance. The staff at Mac & Waltz works closely with board members and property managers and regularly attends association meetings to help educate the association about their insurance policies. To learn more about how Mac & Waltz can save you money and improve your insurance program, call now 954-640-6225 and ask for Greg Waltz. 954-640-6225. Mac & Waltz Insurance Group. Let us protect your association.
Hey guys, Eric Glazer. Again, I just want to thank Representative Lopez for going through an interview today for the show, for our listeners, for our viewers. So appreciated. And after the interview ended, I jotted down some notes that I want to share with all of you, and because I think they're pretty important. Here we go. First, I was very impressed that she really understood in the end that condos and HOAs, they were a much bigger problem than she originally came in thinking. You know, she started an interview by saying, I really didn't know a thing about condos and HOAs, and look what happened. She learned everything. She knows the statute better than lawyers who are practicing this for 30 or 40 years. Very impressed by her knowledge, and it's pretty obvious. She put in an endless amount of hours on this issue, learning it, and a lot of times members of the House and Senate don't put in all the time that she did, and it's apparent she understood just how important this was, put in the time, and understands the topic better than most people do. That I can say for sure. I was amazed to learn, I should say that she was amazed to learn that people couldn't get certified by signing a stupid form. She couldn't believe it. It was obvious that she understood right away that that's a procedure that had to go. And now it's a two-step process. Yes, you have to sign that form saying you read your governing documents, but you got to get educated. And obviously she understood the importance of education. And those of you who attended my class, you know, I always say in the class that the Champlain Towers really fell. You know, we could debate all day long why it fell, but the Champlain Towers really collapsed due to a lack of money. You know, what did she say right away? I was very impressed that she said she understands that, you know, it also collapsed due to a lack of money. This is the very first thing she said about the Champlain Towers incident, as a matter of fact, and that reserves should have been in place well before then. Very, very impressed by the how she understood that right off the bat and how important reserves are. And keep in mind that there has been a lobby out there for decades, forever, fighting against the funding of reserves, fighting against the funding of reserves. She took on a very, very difficult topic this year, which is mandatory reserves, and got it passed. And for that, you know, she really, truly deserves to be applauded. Very, very difficult to get done. Not everybody thought it could get done, and she got it done. Back to education for a second. She understood that those people who didn't want to take some time out of their schedule, 4 hours at best to take a class, to learn something in order to get certified, well, guess what? Those people shouldn't run in the first place. They shouldn't get your vote in the first place. You know, what's the big deal about 4 hours? And a matter of fact, she thought it shouldn't be just 4 hours one time. She was in favor of mandatory continuing education. Nobody even thought that that was possible. Thanks to her, it's not just possible, it passed. Very, very impressed with that. And I think in the end, the bottom line is Representative Lopez was simply the right person at the right time to tackle this very, very difficult, very, very controversial topic at this time, including, you know, going on the record here and saying that she understood that as a result of mandatory reserves, there's going to be people that now can't afford to live in their condominium units. And that includes people that have been living in their condominium units perhaps, you know, 30, 40 years, and they're now elderly and on fixed incomes and Social Security. I think she understands that, as they said on 60 Minutes, the bill has now come due. And you can't let people simply not fund reserve accounts and keep the possibility in there of a building collapsing because the repairs are not being made to it. So she really, truly understood all the concepts this year. Like I said, I think she's ready to teach this as a law professor. Again, she was the right person at the right time, and I really want to thank her for appearing on the show. And I can't wait to see what she has in store for next year. She calls it Condo 4.0. So let's see. I think the fans of this show should be very thankful. Thank you again, Representative Lopez. Guys, of course, it always boils down to our viewers, our listeners. We want to know what you think. What do you think of that interview? What do you think of what she said, her thoughts, her ability to tackle this very, very difficult subject? Do two things. You can certainly write your comments in the chat box on our YouTube channel. And of course, send her a thank you by way of email. Call her office, say thank you. I don't doubt that she will appreciate it. Thanks, guys.